My name is John Passfield. The title of this reading will be Terry Fox, Video 7, The Planning Notebook. This is my novel, Terry Fox, Somewhere the Hurting Must Stop. But I'm not going to read from the novel in this reading. I'm going to read from the planning notebook, which I wrote while planning and writing the novel. The title of the notebook is Planning Somewhere the Hurting Must Stop. And it can be found and accessed for free on my website, johnpassfield.ca, all one word. It covers the span of 9 years, from the first idea of writing a novel on this topic till I had a complete rough draft that I could polish. The novel is 54,000 words, and the notebook is 39,000 words. In this reading, I'm going to present 5 passages as a sample of what the Terry Fox notebook contains. So here's the first passage. The very first thing I wrote about the idea, Terry Fox, period. I thought of this idea this morning. I've always admired Terry Fox. A great story, also Canadian, universal, of course. And then 4 dashes, 4 points, but I'll number them. Cancer as the dark world of opposition. 2, the Canadian landscape. 3, the people, the media. 4, a great novel, it could be. So 4 points in my first note about a possible Terry Fox novel. Here's passage number 2 from the notebook. Why not Terry Fox? The imagery is amazing. And then again, some points which I'll number, which are just dashes. The topography of Canada, the people of Canada, the interior journey, and 4, the cancerous surround. So 4 points there that really intrigued me. That could be the ingredients, the elements of a Terry Fox novel. Then another heading, the projected run, and then 4 more dashes. From Atlantic to Pacific. 2, from the Maritimes to British Columbia. 3, the imagery of the whole journey. 4, the ending in the midst, M-I-D-S-T, midst or middle. This would be a feast of imagery for me. Very Canadian, very heroic, very light, and very dark, very me. I will do this for sure. So the decision that I will write a Terry Fox novel is the last point there. Here's the third passage that I selected. Thinking of the shape of the potential novel, 2 points. 1, where to start. 2, where to end. Perhaps 3 more points. Number 1, 15 or 16 chapters. 2, start dipping its leg in the Atlantic Ocean. 3, end. Need to stop running for a rest and a checkup. I'll be back in no time at all. Almost the last words of a potential novel there. I'll be back in no time at all. Sounds good, I wrote at that time. Okay, the fourth passage from the planning notebook. Number 1, outer frame. That is simply the story, the action. The run, dipping leg in Atlantic Ocean to last few moments of run. 2, life experience, from childhood to return of cancer at pause in run. And then in brackets, historically, at the end of the run. So what seems like a pause in the run, halfway across Canada, turns out to, of course, be the physical end of the run, not the spiritual end of the run. I was getting at that concept there. They both end at the very same moment, period. Then the word vignettes. Vignettes are small pictures, right? Vignettes, question mark. Okay, 9 dashes. Here they are. Number 1, perhaps the people and the moments of his life to that point. 2, perhaps like photographs in an album or in a slideshow, brackets, as at weddings and funerals. 3, the moments and people who have been special to him. 4, some people, in brackets, mom, dad, brothers, etc., will recur more than once, but each is a separate moment. So these are little vignettes, little pictures. They're not part of the plot. So they don't need an action, but they do need a scene, a moment. That's the point there. 5, no narrative in terms of sequential narrative. The only sense of narrative will be that these people have been his people, and these moments have been his moments. So a memory novel, you might say. 6, the people he meets along the way, in brackets, Greg, question mark, the little boy who rides with him and is dying of cancer. 7, the people in the cancer ward in British Columbia who are in terrible pain. 8, moments of public acceptance or acclaim, in brackets, Blue Jays baseball game in Toronto, etc. And 9, quiet moments with friends or reporters or others. And then I just jotted etc. as the last item there. Another heading, news. Perhaps 2 news elements. 1, news of the day, local British Columbia or Newfoundland, Quebec, Ontario, etc., Canada, the world. So news of all the things that are happening on in those days during 1980 when the run is taking place. Number 2, news of a Terry Fox run, so more immediate news about this central event. How many of these per chapter? In brackets, we will see. So some things you can plan, and some things will have to wait until they're ripe to be decided. I'm getting a sense of 1, the shape, 2, the mood, 3, the tone. I see how the elements will interfuse as images in the preconscious mind. The preconscious mind means that they're thoughts, not spoken, but they're in sentences. So a thought that is just about ready to be spoken would be printed as a sentence in a book. That's the idea of the preconscious mind. Point of view, question mark, 3 points. 1, each of these elements is a point of view. The outer frame, which is the run itself, the life experience, which is his thinking of his own life from birth till now, the vignettes, all these little moments that he remembers having shared with special people. Each of those is a point of view. 2, the final moments of the run, in brackets, yes, for sure. 3, after the run, in the after-novel, the after novel, perhaps, though not stated in the novel. So what I was getting at there was the novel ends with Terry Fox alive and just pausing in his run. But there was an after novel that Terry Fox runs, of course, the legacy of Terry Fox. So I wanted to get that into the novel if I could, without writing chapters after Terry Fox is no longer alive. I didn't want to do that. Nothing beyond the last moments of the run will appear in the novel. There will be no 16th chapter, no death chapter. I'd written a few novels with the death of the main character as the last chapter, so no death chapter, no. At the same time, it occurred to me a week or so ago that one of the elements will be a cancer minor cycle. Number 1, perhaps a voice explaining what cancer is and does. Number 2, almost like reading a brochure in a waiting room. Number 3, or reading a medical textbook in which no punches are pulled, blunt and to the point. The ravages of cancer and the low rate of cure. A grim minor cycle, playing like a record or tape recording in his mind. Now, here's the 5th and final passage that I selected among many. So what we have is, instead of 1, the present being the present, and 2, the past being the past, as in most novels, 3, the present is both present and past simultaneously, and 4, the past is both past and present simultaneously. Neither stops being the one in order to be the other. They are both fused and separate at the same time. So the time as imagery novel is just as specific and tied to time and place as the linear novel, but also uses time as a deepening device for thematic purposes, in bracket, to suggest thematic validity as the link, glue, bridge between and among images. So The point would be that, yes, he's running in present time, but he's thinking of his whole past, even from birth to now, and he's not separating them into two categories. They're just happening now, happening as memories now, and happening as actions now. That's the point there. Okay, those are the 5 passages that I selected from the Terry Fox notebook. Here's a note that I wrote with this reading in mind. When I began to write my novels, I did not plan to make my planning notebooks or journals available to readers. I saw them strictly as aids to better writing. However, when I showed my novels to acquaintances and publishers, it became obvious to me that there was no conception that I was doing anything other than trying and failing to write the contemporary conventional prose novel with sequential plot, description of setting, and analysis of character. So, I decided to make my notebooks and journals available as a means of explaining that, on the contrary, I was developing a completely new form of novel, which I thought of as the form of the poetic novel for our time, the early 21st century. It struck me that I would need a series title for the notebooks, and after some thought I settled on the novel as an art form. So this notebook is the Novel as Art Form 19, because Terry Fox is my 19th novel. It seemed to me that we humans view our experiences in ways that are a combination of the ways in which all humans throughout all time have viewed their experiences and the ways in which we have been taught to view our experiences by the tenor of our times. We also tend to communicate with our fellow humans in a similar combination of all time and contemporary art forms. Art forms renew themselves. Painting, dance, music, drama are not the same in the early 21st century as they were in earlier times. So too should the novel renew itself. However, the prose novel, it strikes me, is now 2 or 3 centuries old and has had only a few minor changes since it was first developed. The novelists of the early 20th century, the modernists, set themselves the task of developing a new form of the novel. I took the same task as my own quest 100 years later. My 31 novels and novellas can serve as my report card to date. So, once again, you can access this notebook for free on my website, johnpassfield.ca, all one word. Just go to Notebooks, then click on the Terry Fox icon. And lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.